I am back with an amazing guest today. I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys. This is Tiffany, and Tiffany was integral to me joining the Pace Morby TC program. And so, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining the interview today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be on your podcast. This is awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, Tiffany's going to tell us all about what is a transaction coordinator and who is the right fit for this. Me personally, I'm passionate about setting people free from the corporate grind, from the corporate world. And since this is something that I made a decision to do for myself, the more I learned about it, the more I realized there's so many people that need to know about this. And so before I actually enrolled in the program, like I was about to hit submit and like pay the money. I kind of got scared and I'm like, let me talk to a real life transaction coordinator. And so I found Tiffany and she was gracious enough to just pick up the phone and talk with me. And so I was like, that was so helpful. Let's share it with everybody. So Tiffany, do you mind starting out telling us a little bit first, like what you did before you were a transaction coordinator and then like how you found it yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, before a year ago, I was working at a startup in tech. I actually got laid off. And so that was kind of a transition point for me. I was debating between the two options of find another job or something that I've always been kind of itching to do, which is kind of start my own journey in like entrepreneurship. And so I, at that time, kind of stumbled upon Pace Morby, and on YouTube, started watching that, and like before you know it, I'm like down the rabbit hole, hours in, and I joined Sub 2. So that's kind of how I
Mm.
started. I joined Sub 2, I joined Gator. So I joined both of those
Oh, I didn't know you did
different
both.
communities.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't mention that part. So I'm in both of those communities. I felt I really liked it. I mean, that's why I entered them, right? But also felt like something was missing,
Yeah.
like this need for something else. And last July, I believe, 2023, it was when the top tier TC program came out. And when that was announced, I was like, transaction coordinator, like, what is that? Because I haven't done a deal yet. I had never used a transaction coordinator. But then it was explained
Right.
to me that the transaction coordinators are the ones who essentially handle the paperwork. We are the people describe us as like the pencil pushers. We get things done. We keep things moving because in a transaction, right? Like there's a lot of moving pieces, and it's very easy for something to get stuck somewhere, right? We have to be diligent about following up and not being afraid of being like that annoying pest in their ear saying, is this done yet? Is this
Yeah.
done yet? Is this done yet? Like, we submitted this like 48 hours ago. I haven't heard back. Like, we can't be afraid of being annoying, right? Anyway, so I heard that, and then that's how I kind of got drawn into the top tier TC program. And so I was one of like the first batch. I was the first batch of people who
Oh,
joined.
cool.
And so I feel like I was really blessed with that because I was able to watch it grow from, few members to like where we are now, like over 600.
Wow.
And it's still growing every day, right? Like there's always new people coming in and introducing themselves, which is awesome, like you. And so, yeah, that's how I got into top tier TC.
Okay, so you did take a leap of faith in yourself then, because instead of going and finding another job and a constant paycheck, you joined Pace Morby's programs. And did you have any other income to supplement yourself while you got this up and running, or did you just like did you feel pressure to get it be successful right out of the gates?
So I had a little savings from my job. So I did feel like I would have been okay for a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, like that was my income. So I did have pressure on that regards. And
Yeah.
I'm very, as I feel like a lot of TC does, we're very logical, and like we analyze like the potential outcomes, like the feasibility of certain things. So will I actually be able to do this? Like, do I have the capacity? Do I like like I connected all the dots in my mind, and it made sense to me. And so
Yeah.
that's why I really took this leap of faith, because I did truly believe that this was a possibility, A,
Hmm.
and then B, I felt very passionate that I was feeling just very just like over, corporate world and just working for
Yes.
someone else. There's lots of perks in that, and there were a lot of things I did enjoy about my job. But at the
Hmm.
same time, ever since I was younger, I've always wanted to do it, but I just never did anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just felt like it was that time in my life where it was time to take a leap. And it was a bit intense, because I did, not only did I lose my job, but I feel like our stories are very similar, because you told me you moved to Florida. I also moved from California over to Florida
Yeah.
during that time as well. So, yeah,
Big changes. Big
big
changes.
changes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be asking questions from the perspective of somebody that doesn't know anything about this and maybe wants to do it. So, and that was me anyways, just a few days ago. But I know a burning question somebody would probably have is how long did it take you to start making money?
So I feel like I was a little bit more fortunate in that, like, I was able to get my first file, my first transaction fairly quickly. And I think that's because I was in sub two prior. So I spent a few months in sub two. So
Oh,
I did
yeah.
have some connections there. And so just coincidentally, someone that I knew happened to get their first
Hmm.
file, and they asked me if I could TC for them. And then so I just said yes. And
Cool.
that was my first one. And it was like within the first 2 weeks, I think, of joining the program. So it was
Nice.
fairly recent. I was pretty scared because I just finished the course, but I knew, like in the best way to learn, which is what I ended up finding out, right? The best way to learn is to actually just jump in and do it. Like, you can learn all of
Yeah.
the technical stuff on paper, like
Mhm.
via a recording, but until you actually like see it happening, and like you actually talk to the title company, and like you see it getting done, you don't really actually understand. It's all concepts,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
and I love that part that you can learn on the job.
Yeah.
And what kind of resources? Well, actually, let me back up. So, tell us about the actual program. You said you finished the course. How long is the course? And yeah, let's start there. How long is the course?
The course is, gosh, you know, some people, they go through it very slowly, and like a month in, 2 months in, they're like, oh, I'm still getting through the course. They're like, they have a W-2 maybe, or they're working other things and part-time, just kind of
Yeah.
coming into it. So they're taking their time. I think I finished it in like 2 days. It just kind of like,
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
sped through it quite fast. Did all the
Nice.
quizzes, just finished the test, and just like was like, all right, ready to go. So for
That
me, it
is
was
so
pretty
cool.
fast. Yeah. And then, but like right now, so there's the course part of it, but there's also the Zoom Vault, which is like every single Zoom call we've ever done. And
Wow.
so if you were to join now, the Zoom Vault has grown massively. And so if you were to watch every single one of those, that might take you a little bit. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessary to like actually just get your little badge and,
Okay.
get certified. But so the
Okay.
course itself is not long. It's just enough to teach you enough to so that you can like get your first file, and then after you get your
Hmm.
first file, like that's when the learning happens. And then like how I did it is, I watched the whole thing, got my first file, then I went backwards and rewatched certain things that were
Hmm.
relevant, and then the nodes in the brain connected, and then things
Yes.
started to make sense, right?
That's super
So I
smart.
spent a lot of time going back into the Zooms and in the course, and just
Yeah.
reviewing like the resources, because they do offer a lot of resources as well. So
Yay.
yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah, I don't think I asked you that question when we originally talked. So, for all of you out there that are interested in this, you can take it as slow or as fast as you want to go. And so then you get your badge or certification with the Pace Morby group, and then tell everybody where all the sources of leads come from. Like where do you get your files from?
So that really depends. So initially, the main source of marketing is towards the sub two group, the
Mhm.
Pace Morby Facebook groups. That's where a lot of people focus initially because that's kind of like the easier leads, like
Yeah.
like everyone in there already knows Pace Morby, AK, so they know creative, they know sub two. And so those are the low hanging fruit, right? The people who want to get a deal
Yeah.
in creative. And so that's like where I also started, and that's where I had my connections. And so that's where I did my initial marketing. Right now, since there are more TCs, I would say a good source of leads are from other Facebook groups, other real estate groups on Facebook, right? There's
Okay.
so many other creative groups that don't necessarily know who Pace Morby
Yeah.
seems like such a big deal when you're within the community, but
Yeah.
once you step out of it, like people are like, Pace, who?
Ooh.
Who more who? So it's just
Right.
it's just like stepping into another world, and then you start realizing there's so many opportunities. Like you can stay in creative, or you can go into traditional real estate and start focusing on just helping traditional real estate agents, or
Okay.
you can start helping them with their traditional, but then also teach them about creative and get leads,
Mhm.
through that method, right? Like kind of nurturing them, teaching them creative and kind of moving that direction.
That's
Um,
a good point. A lot of them don't
yeah.
know the creative financing.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
And so niching in that way, like some people go into, so the TCing is not only for real estate. You can get a TC for, do you know that you can sub to a car? There's people who focus specifically on doing sub two for vehicles.
Okay, so
There's people who do sub two for businesses.
backing up, can you briefly explain to the audience what when you're saying sub 2, what does that even mean?
Yes, that's something. It's sub two is, it means subject to, which
Mhm.
is essentially when you buy a house subject to, you're buying it subject to the existing loan staying in place.
Okay.
Yes. So it's funny because I always throw that word around. We all throw that word around. But I was actually talking to my dad the other day, and he was like, yeah, like you keep saying sub two. Like, what's sub two? Like, sub two? I want sub three, sub four. Like, what is,
Right. Why stop at 2?
why two? Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said. And I was like, what? Like, that didn't never even occur to me that that was something that people didn't understand. So yeah, that's subject to. You're buying something subject to the existing loan. So you're like when you buy a car sub to, you're keeping that the financing in place, right? You're making the payments on their behalf. The loan stays under their name, but you're taking ownership of that. And then Pace has so many videos online on his YouTube channel going over it for people who are interested. But yeah, once you open your eyes to that creative method, like you realize you can buy so many things using creative means, which is
That's
amazing.
cool. That's cool. And so to segue on that point, that's another thing that makes the transaction coordinator role really special is if somebody wants to get into real estate investing, um, learning to be a transaction coordinator, they're going to see all these deals come across their table and or across their computer screen, and they're going to learn all of the different ways that deals have been put together. Am I right about that? I'm assuming, but
Yeah, there's sub two seller finance. There's a hybrid of the two. There's wraps. There's lease options. There's contract for deeds. There's so many different types of transactions. And while our job is not necessarily in the underwriting of these, or like putting together of these deals,
Mhm.
there's you definitely see a whole bunch of very creative things that people do, and it's you learn a lot also by just seeing what people are doing, definitely.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
great. And okay, so circling back around to where you had left off when I asked you what sub two is, I'm trying to remember where we were on that one. Um, so as a transaction coordinator, oh yes, finding leads. That's right. So
Mm.
because this is your own business, you're not getting it's not a W-2, it's your own business. So suddenly you have your badge, your certification, and now you need to start networking. So it sounds to me like a good, I don't know, what would you say, maybe 70-80% of the connections can be built within Pace Morby's community of sub two students or sub two people, the Gator community. Maybe he even has others that I'm not aware of yet. And everyone's just kind of like networking with each other within the Facebook groups and Zoom calls. And then you were talking about going outside of the community and just going to other real estate like investment groups and things like that, and explaining to them what a TC is. Because isn't it true that a lot of like traditional, they don't use TCs, but maybe in the future they will start, would you say?
I would say they do use TCs.
Okay.
Not everyone does. So the thing is, a TC is optional, right? A lot of people choose to just do the work themselves because they don't want to pay a TC.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't even have that many files, so they have the capacity to just do it themselves. Like my mom is a realtor. She's been a realtor for like decades and she always uses a TC, right? The thing with traditional TCs is they don't pay as much as you would to a creative TC because that's more specialized. There's a lot more that goes on within a creative transaction.
Okay.
And so just overall, when you approach a traditional realtor and you give them your price, they might be a little shocked because they're not used to it. Like it can be double, triple even the amount
Mhm.
that they're used to paying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good to know. Are we, would you say it's okay to talk about price points for the general audience at this point?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
so people have an idea? Okay, cool. So what would average file earn with traditional versus creative?
Yeah. So, and also when we get into creative, there's also different types of creative, right? Just keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
But so for a traditional, I would say this also depends on the state, but I would say between like $200 to $400 for a transaction.
Okay.
And then for a sub two transaction, which is like kind of a basic, you know, I don't want to say basic, but it's just like a more common creative one that we do in the community. So that one
Hmm.
on average goes for about 1,000 per file.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. And then how long does it take to do these? I'm sure different transactions have different time frames, but like anywhere from this many days to this many days?
Yeah. So when I get a file, assuming they don't need to like rush it closed. So if it's a rush, sometimes people try to get it done in like 2 weeks or less. Some people try to get it done even faster. But on average, I would say about 30 days.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
That,
and oftentimes the biggest roadblock or the thing that takes the longest is just the communication with title company and them pulling a title report.
okay.
You'll start to find that especially as you get more towards the East Coast, sometimes it can take longer to pull a title report, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when someone comes to me to open a file, right, they bring me a purchase contract. And so the reason why I say 30 days is because usually that's what they write on the purchase contract
Uh,
for the closing date after it gets signed.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. So then the length of time really depends on what they agreed upon
Hmm.
on the purchase contract.
Yep.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah,
good.
like and then depending on the types of files, some of them like I had one file that had issues constantly coming up and that one didn't close for like almost 6 months. So that one took a long time
Okay.
because of the roadblocks. So again, it depends, but like from our like the pay perspective, we still get paid that same amount.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not like even if it does take a long time, it's not like we're constantly like doing something every day, but we're just kind of putting out little fires and we're just watching it through to its maturity.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then are these price points, like, the 2 to 400 or the $1,000 average, are they a percentage of the deal or are they just a flat rate that you come up with as a business owner that you're going to charge?
It's a flat rate.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we kind of the pricing kind of came from a template we got from top tier from Ashley and Molly, who were, the leaders in our group.
Mhm.
And so that's Ashley, what she did was took she measured how long that type of file took her in terms of hours,
Mhm.
and then came up with a price based off of that to
Okay,
keep it
gotcha.
kind of fair on her behalf.
Yeah. So then for the real estate investors that are watching this, that maybe do creative financing deals already but don't have a TC, what would why would they want a TC?
Oh man. So there's a lot of reasons. Main ones being that there's a lot to handle in a transaction beyond just what you see. So a lot of the work in being a TC is in preserving relationships. And oftentimes, if you're the investor going out and finding those deals, Pace described it as like they're like hunters, right? They're going out, they're getting the kill, they're going out. Like, do you really want to spend the time also after you went out to kill that animal, right? You bring it back, and then you have to like skin it, and then you have to cook it, and you have to build
Yeah.
the fire, like no, you want to focus. What you're good at is going out and getting those deals and bringing the meat home, right? You're not also like a Michelin star chef here, and you're not like doing all this stuff. So focus on what you're good at.
Yeah.
And especially if that investor wants to scale and they are planning on doing more than just one transaction a month, right? If they're just really just doing one, like they can also just do their own teasing, but like wouldn't they want to spend that time trying to find even more deals?
Right.
So that's the biggest thing. It's scalability.
I
There's
love
also a lot of things that fall through the cracks with the pushing the paperwork to the finish line,
Mhm.
right? And so like yes, you can call the title company and yes, you can like push it forward, but like it's just not necessary, right? It's not
Yeah.
their specialty. And a lot of people who are good at going out for the hunt, they're not good with paperwork. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Like it repulses a lot of investors to even think about paperwork, right?
Right.
Pace is like, I get hives if that paperwork touches me. Like it's hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. Like, do what you're good at so that if you have someone else handling all these other things for you, you're not missing important deadlines. Um, you can just focus on the next kill,
Yeah,
right?
and another thing I wanted to bring up is that yes, when you talk like a lot of investors think, "Oh, the title company does that all for me. Oh, I don't need to do this. The escrow agent, oh yeah, she said she'll do that for me." Yes, the title company does do things for investors, but at the same time, it's not always their job to do a lot of things that you request of them, but they do them for you because, they do want the business. But on a long-term basis, this does not build a good relationship with them, right? And,
Yeah.
from the title company perspective, this is what leads to burnout over time. And what I've noticed, after from TCing this last year is that title companies get burned out and they just stop doing creative deals just
Oh,
completely. They're like, we don't do sub twos anymore. Like we're done with this because they've had people like just overwhelm them oftentimes,
mhm.
asking them to do things that they're really not, meant to be doing.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's good to know. So as a TC, you're actually helping the industry kind of differentiate the different roles and keeping things cleaner, streamlining everything so that deals are done more efficiently across the board for all parties.
Yes, exactly. Like, so creative is always, it's still evolving, right? We can't say like right now what we have set up is the perfect way, but it's the current best practice. And what I think top tier TC has really done an amazing job at doing is taming the wild, wild west that it used to be. Like
Yeah.
like in the past, in order to, if someone sold their house sub two, they wouldn't really be secured in a way that was the most beneficial to them. Right now, what we do is we would draft them security documents, a deed of trust and a promissory note, securing them against that actual property. In the old days, they're just like, okay, let me take over your loan. Oh, I'll make the payments. Oh, you're good. Okay, bye.
Oh,
Literally,
wow.
like
So
they
a lot
just take over
scarier.
and like be like, peace.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
crazy. Yeah. So like it was literally the wild wild west, and that's just one example of there's, a ton more practices that Molly and Ashley and, top tier TC have just cleaned up overall. And people who have been, so sub two's been around for about 4 years now.
Is that all?
So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but the people who joined, 4 years ago, a lot of the things they were doing then, they might still be doing now. So we're still kind of cleaning up some of those things. Like maybe they're not going to the Zooms anymore because they're so busy doing their own thing. They don't have time to start updating themselves with, the
Mhm.
current practices or maybe the newest contracts. So, so it's just interesting seeing like people still doing these like old practices. If you
Yeah.
think about it, it's called old, but it's really not that old. It's still, I
Right.
mean, everything is so new, right? It's like AI. It's so new.
Yeah. I love it. No, thank you for explaining that. Okay, so switching gears now, back to somebody that's interested in being a TC. What would you say? What's the advantage of doing TC work as a business owner? Like, are they just simply buying themselves another full-time job? Or like, what are the perks of being a TC as a business owner?
So I mean, you can say it. I mean, you can look at it like you're buying yourself another job, right? It really just depends on how you want to look at it. The way I see it though is more of I am buying myself a skill set to be able to build my business of my own. So my ultimate goal is not necessarily to be doing TC work, you know, full time, right? I mean, I don't do TC work full time actually. I've told you already. This is only my a part time thing for me. I'm also working on another business simultaneously.
Nice.
But for me, TC, like a big reason why I even joined TC, top tier TC, is for that knowledge, the skill set, and the confidence that it brings you knowing the nuances of these transactions. Because when I was in sub two and I knew like in theory, okay, sub two is this and this, but like after seeing everything, like everything made so much more sense. And
Yeah.
that's very empowering just to like understand so much more
Yeah,
and being
definitely.
able to find like the skill set that you can actually capitalize on,
Got
right?
it.
And so that's my goal in this is to use that skill set to build a business where I'm not necessarily doing the TC work. I want to have a team with me to help me do certain things, but also be able to kind of, use this to build something bigger.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, that's great. So it's scalable even for a TC. You can get
Oh
in, you
yeah,
can
that's
learn
right.
this role, and you can expand. Could you have a team of other TCs working for you, or would it more just be like um sharing deals, or like how would you scale it? Could you paint a picture of that?
Oh gosh, there's so many. It's the possibilities are just like it's whatever you want to make of it, right? So you
Cool.
like everything that you said you can do.
Okay.
So like you can JV with each other
Which
and work
means,
on a joint venture with each other. It's like it's a partnership, and you can like if someone is new, for instance, they got a file and they want to JV with me because they don't really know, they've never done this before and they want help, right? So
yeah.
we partner together and we can work together on the transaction, right? You can also get a team, hire a team underneath you and maybe pay them as teams. You can just partner up with someone and just, get a joint LLC and just kind of battle buddy with each other and just work on everything together. It's like
Okay.
there's so many ways to do it. You can
Love
get
it.
like an intern team, a shadow. Like I know people, yeah, who have a like a shadowing program. And there's just so many teams that have formed together in this last year. Is like, small teams. People are just hiring constantly. Like there's after you watch more and like get more into the program, you'll realize that there's different avatars of TCs, and some
Mhm.
TCs, like it depending on their personality and what they're trying to get from this. Some of them are, they really just want to come in for like a job and they want to work for someone else. Some of them
Okay.
really want to, they're like an investor and they want to TC, they want to invest in something. And they also want to TC their own deals. Some of them are like their spouse is an investor and they just want to, like their spouse is a high producer and they're focused on just helping their spouse.
Gotcha.
Yeah, some of them, they're just all about the JVing and they just want to like work with other people. And so there's so
Endless.
many ways to bake a chocolate chip cookie, right? That's what Molly says.
I love it. I love it. And you're describing all these teams and networking within the community. Um, can you speak to that a little bit? I know that kind of warmed my heart when you were talking about like there's, I don't remember how many thousands you said are in the sub two community, and then so many thousands in the Gator community, and then go ahead and speak to that. How many are in so far are in the TC community, and what's the vibe? What's the feeling like once you
Mm,
join?
that's my favorite part. So yeah, in sub two right now, there's about 50, I think there's like 15,000 people, if six, maybe 16,000. Gator
Mhm.
is like over 10,000. Um, Top tier TC right now, we just passed like 600, 660 around there. So we're in the
That's so cool.
hundreds, whereas like everyone else is in the thousands. And so the vibe is very different in this community. Like the type of people that top tier TC attracts is so different from the type of people that, sub two and the Gator community attract. And when I say this, I don't want to say it's all females because it's not. There's a lot of men, but there's
Mhm.
primarily females within top tier TC, and a lot of them happen to be mothers, and so they all have kids, and so it's just so fun because at these Zooms, like you'd always hear babies crying in the back, and everyone just be holding their baby, and like
That's
a child would be
awesome.
just like in the background. Everyone has to like run off, like, oh, I gotta bring my kids to practice, or I gotta bring them to school. And like that's the type of people that are constantly, so they're like a lot of busy moms.
Love that.
I'm a dog mom.
Me
So I'm
too.
honorary mom. But the vibe in there, it's just like it's really just warm, and everyone's there just to be with each other. Like I joined the
Support one
Zooms.
another.
Yeah, I want to learn, but I literally I just joined just like hang out,
That's so
like
cool.
I just want to see you guys, like say hey and
Yeah.
just
So
just
so
chill.
the culture is not a culture of competition with one another. It's actually lifting each other up above each other's shoulders and wanting everyone to succeed, because when the tide rises, we all raise together, right?
Right. That's so true. And you definitely feel that within the community. Like you don't get people who are like, that's my client. How dare you take, like I have never seen anything like that before. Or at
That's
least
good.
that's never happened publicly, right? Like everyone is just like, oh, like I got my first deal. Like let's share our wins. I got my first deal. Yes, like, and then like everyone's just celebrating one another and just
That's
just feeling
beautiful.
happy for one another and encouraging and helping in any way possible. Like
Yeah.
initially, even in the very beginning, like the Facebook group was like a great resource. Like every time there was a question, you put it in there, like people would respond to you so fast with their answer. The joke was that you're talking to an investor and they ask you a question, you're like, I don't know, I need to go to the bathroom. And you just go to the bathroom to type in the group like what that question is, and then like someone respond to you like, fast enough for you to just go back out there, then answer the question.
That's
So
cool.
it's a great community of people. I mean, obviously people are getting busy. Not everyone's always like just spending all their time on Facebook responding, but
Sure.
like it's just like so many people are going in and out, and
Yeah.
just watching that rotation and watching people grow. Like
Yeah.
it's fun watching just people who started off and they're just like a little shy and they're just not confident
Yeah.
and they kind of talk quiet and they didn't get the first deal, or they're working on their first deal. And like now they're just like, okay, I have like two closings tomorrow. I have to do this. Do you know how to get the insurance company to do that? And they're
Taking
just
control.
a whole nother person. And like in the weekly Q&As with Molly, we just had one yesterday, but like the quality and the types of questions that are asked, like I remember in the very beginning, these Q&As, we'd ask the most basic of questions, and just seeing how these questions are evolving over time just
Mhm.
shows the growth of our community over time, and
That's so
it's
cool.
so fun to watch.
I love it. Okay, well, I have one last question, and then anything that you can think of that maybe we didn't cover. But my last question is like, what kind of income versus hours could a person expect? Like when you painted the picture of, a lot of moms with kids or wives helping their spouse who are investors, um, you know, people are busy. So what kind of potential is there to get people excited?
I would say I know people who are doing six figures a year,
At full time?
full time TCing.
Okay.
People are creating big businesses for themselves, focusing just on TCing. And then there's people who are just doing a part time, um, a few deals here and there for like people they know. And they're just, they're making just some side money doing
Okay.
TC work.
So anywhere in
So
between, really.
yeah, they're like, yeah, it just, you get from it what you put into it, and how much you get from it just depends on how much you want to put into it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then you'll also find that when you get clients, like for me, I don't do as much outward marketing because I get more like referrals.
Hmm.
And
That's
then
great.
so then you don't have to do as much market, like, and then in the beginning, of course, you're gonna have to get your name out there, let people know what you do. But then after people do know, you can tone down on the marketing if you want, or
Yeah.
you don't tone it down and you just keep going and you just keep building and building and just getting crazy busy, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
building a business out of that. So it,
And
it
I could
depends.
imagine that it's not like you have to keep finding new clients every week or every month, because a lot of these are going out there getting the next, doing their hunting, getting the next deal. And so they turn into repeat customers for you, right?
Yeah, which is
Repeat
why it's
clients.
all a relationship business. You make
Yeah.
that relationship, you nurture it, and then you grow with that investor.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I know for myself, something that got me excited was when they were painting the picture of like an average, an average creative financing file is about $1,000, and that it's so doable to work like 10 files a month, and there you are at 10,000 a month income. And from what I heard, 10 files a month could be, potentially part time. Now, if you're brand new, it might be longer than that. But once you get it dialed in, yeah, you could work part time hours and be making 10K a month. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Like you said, 10 files it'll be a lot for a new person, but once you get your systems down, it's definitely doable.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. So I
for
think
sure.
I think that's a great place to end all the questions. Can you think of anything that we didn't cover, or anything else that you just like to tell people about it?
Um, I think we covered most of it. I'm just really excited that you joined the community, and
Thank
I
you.
think,
Me
and
too.
said, like, I'm biased. I love top tier TC, but I think if you are interested in joining this community, like, we'd love to have you.
I love that. That is so great. Yes, and that's the vibe, you guys, of this community. And yeah, it's beautiful, and you get to make friends already. Like Tiffany and I love her. So, thank you,
Or
thank you so much for doing this with me. And I'm also going to put a referral link in the video in the show notes. So anybody that is interested, just go ahead and fill out that referral link. Somebody will reach out to you, and you can mention whoever you like. You can mention Tiffany's name. Tiffany, is it okay? Oh yeah, it's on the video. It's okay if people know your last name. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so you could put Tiffany's name down, and that you heard about it from her. You can put my name down, whichever one, because we're not in we're not in competition. We just want everybody to succeed and to join us. And in my mind, like, there's a better way. You don't have to be chained to your desk in a corporate world. You can have freedom. You can raise your kids. You can have more flexibility in your life. You can be your own boss, and you can have lots of fun and a great community supporting you while you do it.
Love
Woo-hoo.
it.
Love it
Love
too.
it.
All right. Well, bye for now, and more to come. Thanks so much, guys. Actually, give me a smile so that I can screenshot for our thumbnail.
So fake.
Hi.
I'm sorry. No, do it again. Okay, now I'm ready.